Welcome, and thank you for listening to this episode of Leaps and Bounds. I'm your host, Tom Bash, and I'm thrilled to be bringing you conversations with some of the most successful CEOs, sales leaders, and home improvement professionals. When I started in this industry 20 years ago, tearing off roofs, I had no idea about what went into making a home improvement business successful. Now, having met with thousands of contractors, helping them adopt technology, and watching them grow, I'm excited to invite them on to share what's made them successful, what they're doing today to stay ahead of their competition, and the advice they have for others. My guest today is Ross Cochran, owner of Cochran Exteriors out of Indianapolis, Indiana. Ross started the business with his father, John, 11 years ago, and has seen it grow to 50 employees and around $20 million in annual revenue. Two contributing factors to their success: building a strong culture and the early adoption of technology. On this episode, we'll dive into how he got started, what challenges they've overcome, and how they're continuing to exceed customer expectations. Let's get this show started. Hey Ross, how are you?
Hey Tom, I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Love having you on. I'd love for you to give everybody a brief introduction of who Ross Cochran is, and then maybe an intro to what Cochran Exteriors does.
Sure. Ross Cochran. Been in business for 11 years now. I partnered with my father 11 years ago. I was freshly, out of school. I was actually working outside of the roofing industry and home remodeling industry. Had to get my first job with my college degree, but quickly found out that I loved the roofing industry, the home improvement industry. Came back in, partnered with my father, and we're in it 11 years.
Wow.
So Indianapolis, Indiana, is where I've been born and raised, and where our company is located. So it's pretty neat that I've got a great relationship with my father, and we've been able to work together, use each other's strengths and weaknesses to be able to build something that's going to be something that will hopefully last for generations to come. So it's pretty neat.
That's awesome. What's it like working with your father? Even starting a business with him?
We have a unique relationship. That the things that I don't like to do, he loves to do, and vice versa. So it's really yin and yang. We get along very well. We look at it as, we are very fortunate to be able to go out to lunch with each other like 2 or 3 times a week, to be able to sit in and have discussions and bounce ideas, off of each other. And it works really well for us. And I've really enjoyed it. I feel very fortunate to be able to, work so closely with family, and being somebody that is your business partner and someone you can trust as well is just pretty amazing. Yeah.
Now you didn't go to school for this, right? So you went to school, I think, for marketing?
Yeah, I went to school for marketing. Yeah, I have construction in my blood. All my uncles, everyone, is in the construction industry. But I went to school. I was more focused in on marketing and a sales minor, and just quickly found myself gravitating towards the construction industry. I had a couple of internships with some roofing contractors, siding contractors throughout college, learning that side of the business while going to school. Making some great money for a couple months out of the summer, and then going back to school, getting a taste for it. And that's what really led me into the career path that I knew I wanted to go into and venture into.
Yeah, awesome. I think your marketing background really stands out in a lot of what you guys do. I know for those not familiar and those that don't live in that Indianapolis area, I mean, that the building you have there on the side of the highway is very visible to passing motorists. So you've done a really good job of the branding.
Yeah, thank you. A lot of thought went into that, as far as the branding, and it's really not just a yard sign or a wrapped vehicle. I mean, there's so much that goes into the full circle branding We've been really strong at having a good foundation for a brand that we can build off of. You mentioned our facility. It sits right on the highway on I-69, which is the busiest highway in Indiana. We have 155,000 cars that pass by our office every single day. So that goes into a lot of that branding and getting our name out there, and customers seeing that brand, if it's on a digital ad, on a Google ad, if it's something that they see our truck driving down the highway, or they see our office, or they see a neighbor that has our yard sign. So it's that full circle branding that's really coming together, and it's really neat to see it.
That's great. So what are you doing? What are you doing today that you've learned over these years as compared to back when 10, 11 years ago when you were just getting started?
Sure. I mean, I guess when we were just getting started, something that we were doing is we were just trying out a lot of different type of marketing channels, and seeing a little bit of what worked and what didn't. But back then, we were just getting set up, so we didn't really have the systems in place to really be tracking our leads and having data behind those so that we can analyze, what's working, what's not, what's our, ROI, what should we invest more in if it's working really well. So, from a marketing perspective, we've really grown as an organization, and been utilizing a lot of data to make decisions, which I think is something, very important for, a smaller contractor or contractors just getting started. I think that's something that we could have done a better job at, knowing that, our dollars being spent are being spent really well, from a marketing perspective. But from a majority of things, since we track everything and analyze so much data, a majority of our marketing efforts are digital, so that we can know exactly what phone number that rang from, or what ad that was, that is working, or that lead generator, so that we can know exactly what our result is from it, opposed to, say, a billboard, or say a TV ad where tracking it's not as easy to do. So for us, what works for us is having that visibility and tracking.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What are you doing from a content perspective? What kind of content are you putting out there?
From a content perspective, we're trying to keep things, fresh and engaging, to our potential customers and audience. We are doing a lot of video and trying to get that out, showing people, our facility, bringing people virtually into our office, since, during COVID, it's kind of, more difficult to do that these days. Really trying to highlight that we're not your typical contractor is really what we're trying to get across, that, level of professionalism is higher, and that our attention to detail is there as far as training, as far as any kind of quality control measures that we put in place. Like, we have a training deck in the back of our facility, so we like to try to highlight those things and push that content out to our customers so they know that we're doing things above and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we touched about the facility earlier, but it is a really great facility and a great training room. So it's probably really beneficial to show off those aspects, along with the space you have in back with the actual roof. Do you ever use that kind of stuff in promotional material or any kind of content?
Yeah, I mean, we have a full training deck. It's basically a mock roof of all the different components that would be on a home. So it has pipe jacks, it has exhaust caps, it has chimney flashing, it has roof to wall. It's probably maybe a 10 to 12 square foot roof deck. And that's something that we take photos, we take videos of that, and we show those things to our customers when we're in the home or doing a digital presentation, because I think it's important for them to see that, we're training on these things. Our staff, whether it's sales staff or our installers, are being trained on this deck so that we can have a better understanding of how these components go together and what's the best way to deliver the best product for our customers.
Yeah, that's great. It brings me kind of to my next point. I wanted to talk a little bit about, what you're doing from a sales perspective. And I think you touched on, that's part of the presentation, but, walk me through maybe at a high level what your sales process looks like when when a lead comes in to when it gets in the sales rep's hands and what they do with it.
From a sales perspective, I mean, we really want to control as much as possible from that first initial call that comes into the office to us actually running the appointment, to us actually signing the contract with the customer, controlling that process and making sure that they're feeling that I'm working with a professional organization. So calling in, they have someone sitting in an office that is professionally answering the phone, taking down more information from that potential customer, so that we can put together a great plan, for that customer on what they need for their project. So our sales process is all focused around educating the customer and building trust, letting them know who we are, taking them on a virtual tour, of our office, and maybe showing them different aspects of our office and our training facility and our showroom, that we can show them that we are a professional organization. We're building trust. We are located on I-69. All of those things are important during our sales process.
Yeah, and you offer roofing, siding, windows. Is there anything else that you guys offer?
Yeah, roofing, siding, windows, and gutters for residential and also commercial properties.
And so how do you go about you bring a new sales rep in? Are you giving them the gauntlet of products to sell, or what's that process look like of bringing in a new sales rep and getting them acclimated to Cochran Exteriors and the products that you sell?
Yeah, that's we have a process all laid out for that. When we're bringing on a new sales rep, that sales rep is mostly learning about, first and foremost, about Cochran Exteriors, about our back-end systems and processes, about our CRMs, all those types of things. And then we start introducing them to the products that we sell. We start out with roofing because that is our primary thing that we sell, and also easier for us to be able to train on to get someone up to speed. And then we move over into vinyl products for siding. From there, once we've conquered that, mastered that, we then would move into James Hardie fiber cement type products, then to windows as well. So we've kind of got it broken out that come in, you get trained, you become an expert at this, and then you graduate and you have another product offering that you're able to sell to customers.
Are the reps started out like, do they go out and start selling roofing, or do they learn all of these before they actually get out the door and
No, yeah, they'll go out and start selling roofing after they've gone through all of our training courses, and then they will go out and start selling roofing to begin with. Make sure that they are mastering that and they're comfortable with that, and then they're moving on to bring in another product underneath their belt.
Gotcha. That progression then is vinyl siding, and then Hardie, and then your window line.
Yes, correct.
Awesome. And then how do you I know in the past you've leveraged your relationships with manufacturers and different technology and that kind of thing to help in that training. Is that something you still do? Do you still kind of rely on those partners to help in that training?
Yeah, we do. We've built out all of our training ourselves, but we will rely on some manufacturers, as far as some have better content than others, but we will pull in some of that content into our own training that we've built out and incorporate that into what that rep would go through to be able to sell roofing or to sell vinyl or so on.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier about controlling the process. What are some other safeguards you put around it to make sure that you do control that process?
When we're controlling the process of
from the time that a lead comes in to the time that that they're going through the sales cycle to production, how do you control all that so that there's no outside interference?
Yeah, so with that, I mean, we're bringing when the phone rings and someone says, "Hey, I need something done at my house, if it's roofing related, we're asking a list of questions above and beyond what's your name and your address and your email and your phone number. We're asking other questions, more things, about the home. We're asking, the best way to get in touch with them. But we're also letting the customer know that our goal through this process is to provide 5-star service. So if there's ever any time where you don't feel like you're feeling 5-star service, that we're not getting a quote back to you soon enough, or communicating, or missed a call that we didn't get back to you, this is the number to reach out to. This is the number to call, and we'll make sure that we get that straightened out for you right away. So just so that customer knows from the very beginning that that's our goal. We want to provide 5-star service, to that customer. And if we're not doing so, let us know so we can correct it immediately.
Yeah, that's great. What does that look like from your, kind of going back a minute here, but from when that lead comes in to when it gets to the sales rep's hands? Is that just an inbound lead that comes in, or I imagine if it comes in from maybe a website or something, you have somebody reaching out. But is there a qualifying stage that's done there, and is it just one time setting the lead and then the sales rep runs it? They could be inbound or outbound. We have 2 different sets of people that are doing both, okay.
Every single day. But yeah, we're qualifying that lead with that person before it goes, out to our sales team, making sure it's a qualified, good appointment, for our rep, to go out and run. So we've got some systems and checks and balances in there to make sure that that's a set appointment.
Yeah, and how do you navigate the being in Indianapolis? I know there's some years where there's several storms that roll through, and there's other years where it's kind of dry. How do you navigate those waters of being both a restoration contractor as well as a home improvement and remodeling contractor?
Sure. Yeah, that's something that we have really worked from day one on, diversifying the business. Always, it's something that we're always striving to do. We're always looking at different, products and services that we can add on that are kind of in our wheelhouse to be able to serve our customers and at the same time diversify the business. So we're constantly looking at that. How we view ourselves as a replacement home remodeling contractor, not a storm contractor. But we also have the ability and the tools and the resources and the staff to be able to handle all of those needs when a storm does come through. That we're able to capitalize on that and serve our customers and get them taken care of throughout that process. So it's that we're always ready for a storm, but we don't ever count on that happening.
Yeah. So when that training's going on with the sales team, it's predominantly you want them versed in how to sell in that, I call it like a retail environment, but I imagine you're also training them on the insurance side of the business as well.
Yes, we are. We are focusing all of our efforts on a retail situation, but they're also trained how to navigate a insurance claim for a homeowner as well.
And I'm curious, how do you let's say a storm comes through and your marketing's been geared towards more of that replacement. How do you flip that switch to now, being presenting yourself as somebody who can handle these claims and stuff? And I'm sure you're doing this throughout the year regardless, but how do you kind of make that switch when the season comes and a storm comes in?
Yeah, it's difficult, because we've got you have a steady stream of retail customers that are calling in and, wanting that service. And then, when a storm hits, I know that we had a storm earlier this year in April. And the next day we came to the office and we had 600 leads in that first day, that the storm hit. So it is difficult to be able to, navigate that. But I think we've done a really good job at just knowing that we've got game plans in place to be able to serve both customers, because both are equally as important. And just because we have a storm, we don't want for our retail business to, go in a different direction and decrease. So we've got some really good plans in place to be able to navigate that and serve both of our customers. And I think I think what has really helped us out is years ago, we made the decision where I know not a lot of companies are set up like this, but our salespeople are salespeople. They're not going out and managing the project the day of the build, so those types of things really free them up to concentrate on what they need to be doing and to be able to serve more customers and get out to more appointments.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because sort of my next question for you is more on the production side. So what does that handoff look like from sales to production?
Yeah, so handoff from sales to production. Once that job is sold and contracted, turned in, it's then reviewed by our director of construction, looking at any kind of construction-related type issues, all of those types of things from a digital standpoint. And from there, it goes over to production, and our production team, the production staff, completely handles that from then on out.
And what's your process like for rehash? So if a job isn't closed, does a sales rep own that lead, or does that get passed to somebody else?
No, we've got some different rehash type programs that we utilize. If the job does not get sold, it still stays with that sales rep, because we know that buying decisions are longer. There's the one call close is moving farther and farther away, and so we want to make sure that we're giving that customer enough time to do their research, to be educated, and to build some trust with them. But we do have some rehash programs in place that we can re-engage, customers, even if it is a few weeks, a month away from our first initial appointment, because we know people have busy lives as well. People have kids, people are, doing a lot of homeschooling, during COVID and all of those types of things. And sometimes life takes over and delays some of those decisions being made. So we do a good job at making sure we're always re-engaging that customer for when they're ready.
Yeah, it's funny when we started this podcast, there was some thought about, it'd be fun to invite two contractors in here, one who was of the mindset of a one-call close and another who was in the mindset of a two-call, more consultative approach, and just kind of hear them out, both sides, and kind of have a battle, right, of like whose idea reigns supreme. So it's interesting that you say more of a two-call consultative, and I had Greta Parami on here a couple episodes ago, and she mentioned the same kind of sentiment, and with the sort of demographic, I think, shifting a little bit, and that mindset of wanting a little bit more time and really more information and more knowledge. So it's interesting that's what you're seeing as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a lot of educated buyers, that are doing a lot of research before they even give us a call. So we want to help them and assist in any different type of questions and what's the best application for their project, and build our trust that way on being the knowledgeable expert.
Yeah, love to get your take on financing in the marketplace. Is that I know that you guys offer financing, but what's kind of your approach around it, and how do you go about training the sales reps to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, financing is a great option, for customers, and an option that a lot of customers would like to take advantage of. So we do a lot of training with our sales staff around, financing and knowing those options on, what best fits that particular client's needs. But it's been a great tool in our tool belt, to be able to assist our customers in getting that project done, or really bringing their project to life how they really want it to be completed. And financing is a great tool for us to be able to do that.
How have you, and the reason I ask is, I heard a stat that it was something like 3 to 7% of roofing contractors offer financing. And if you flip that around, on the HVAC side and even the window side, it's upwards of 50%, almost close to 60, 70%. And so I think there's, or from what I've heard, there's a little bit of fear and discomfort in offering financing, and maybe it's just a fear of the unknown. It's not something that they're comfortable with. So I'm glad that you guys offer that. How have you seen that impact the business, if at all, since you started, offering financing?
Yeah, I think it's been a positive thing. It's a tool that brings deals to life that maybe wouldn't be able to move forward.
Yeah.
And it also gives, a lot of customers the ability to go for upgrades or, really changing the entire look of their home and those types of things. So it's really been, helpful for that, and been an important part for us to grow our business. But I think about the HVAC and window companies. There was a time when financing was not a big part of either of those types of industries, and
Right.
It's just grown to that. So I see more growth, happening in the roofing, siding type businesses over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an important piece, and as a consumer, I know things that I consume. It's like, here's a monthly payment for a phone, here's a monthly payment for a car, here's your monthly payment for Netflix, right? Everything's kind of offered up in monthly payment terms, and I think a roof probably is no different, right? Or a siding job or a window job. I mean, those are generally some big ticket items that, when presented a monthly payment option, look more appealing.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. I'd love to know, I've heard from some contractors some concerns around the supply side of the business. So just curious to see if, what you've heard or what you're seeing in the marketplace relative to the supply side and the production side.
Oh gosh, yeah, the supply side is, been challenging. All the challenges that we've had in 2020 with everything going on, that has been a challenge, and one that's kind of just lingering around, and it's been difficult. I think that there was, a lot of decisions made that everyone thought that demand was going to go down, and it was going to be very low.
Right.
And there's a lot of decisions to pull back on, manufacturing and shut some factories down for, some time, not seeing that demand was going to be where it is today. So, playing catch up with all of that, I think a lot of decisions are being made just with this is all that we have to produce for the market and that we can sell. And, it's going to be at this price, but I definitely see that leveling back out after the season calms down a little bit, going into winter. As supply gets built back up, hopefully inventory will be built back up, by spring next year. So I see those things kind of balancing out a little bit more, maybe prices leveling back out to where they were previously, and products just being more readily available as well.
Yeah. How have you gone about addressing that? You touched on it a little bit there, but love to know, kind of what if there's any specific products or not, whether it be a shingle or ice and water shield or a piece of siding, how have you been able to address maybe a shortage in those or a price increase, relative to communicating that with the sales team and making sure that, you guys are selling and ordering the right material that's available for a job, and also setting the right customer expectations, if there's a potential delay.
Yeah. With some products it's worse than others. But, we've been evaluating the situation from day one and seeing what is the worst time constraints, and, ordering those types of products and storing them in our facility, making sure that we can navigate that for our customers. We don't ever want to be in a place where we can get shingles, but we can't get cap nails or something along those lines that would completely delay the process. So we've been doing that, and also our business has been well diversified from a lot of different distribution partners. So that's really been helpful as well for us to be able to navigate this. Some are positioned well better than others for certain products or certain colors. So it's been better. And then our customers, the longest lead time we have is a particular vinyl product, which is about 8 weeks, and that's a long time It's a tough conversation, but people are also understanding of it. It's not just building trades that are being affected by it. I mean, if people are ordering a dishwasher or appliances or, a number of other things, it's a lot of different industries that are being affected by it. So people are pretty understanding right now.
Yeah. Is there anything you're doing to address that kind of dark time or dark period in between, when the project's sold to when it's, scheduled to be installed?
Yeah, that's very important. I mean, customer communication has been one of our things that, we're always working on getting better at our internal and external communication. And so we touch base with our customers once a week, regardless of, we are waiting for 8 weeks. They're getting 8 touches in those 8 weeks for that material to get in, just so they know that we know they're waiting and we are watching it closely to see when this is going to be able to get in to get their project started. So I think that's important. People just want to be communicated with. They want to know where they're at in line, how much more time we have until things get in.
Yeah. No, I'm sure that's really well received from your customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to find out too, while we're kind of on this topic of effects from the pandemic. What's been your take on doing virtual appointments? Have you done them, and if you have, do you plan to continue doing them to some extent, or how do you see that going?
Yeah, from the very start, when everything had happened, we were positioned very well to be able to run digital appointments. So that was an offering that we turned on basically overnight, just because we all had all the tools and resources in place to be able to do so. We are completely digital already. All of our documents are already signed digitally for our customers, and a lot of our content for presentations and all that is digital. So we were able to quickly turn that into an offering for our customers, which was great. I think that we were able to service more customers and offer that to our clients because of that, and we were able to gain some market share in our market during that kind of lag time where everyone was figuring out how to operate differently through the situation.
Do you see it continuing into the future?
I do. I do for some certain clients. I think some people like that. Some people have very busy, hectic schedules and all that. But I also do see the importance of, being, at the home, in the home, really touching, feeling those types of products that are going to be used. And because these are big buying decisions, these are $20,000-$30,000 type projects that are going to last a lifetime for the customer. So it's really important for us as a contractor to take that time to really explain those and to be able to show them, and for the customer to understand what all their options are and be educated on all of those. Yeah.
As we're nearing here the end of this, so I wanted to ask you a couple more questions. What makes Cochran Exteriors different? How do you set Cochran Exteriors apart in the market?
Yeah. So, from day one, we've always been really big adapters to technology. We've always pushed on how we can do things better, what tools and resources we can bring, to our customers and also to our clients, and which also just kind of raises that bar of professionalism when that customer is going out and getting 3 quotes. So we've really taken the approach of we want to have the customer at the end of the appointment think, wow, this is a roofing contractor, a siding contractor that I'm working with. That was so impressive. All of the technology, all of the information, all of the education that I got, from this type of an appointment. So that's definitely something that sets us apart. And also just our company culture has been a big thing for, just our customers that see that, and also our personnel, our employees. That company culture has been really, really important for us to have the foundation that sets us apart from our competition.
That's great. Yeah, you've always been an early adopter of technology, and I certainly think it's been a benefit for you in the company. Last question before I let you go. You've seen a lot over the last 11 years, and having started this business with your father, and to where you're at today. I'd love for you to offer up any advice you have for contractors that are getting started, or looking to scale, or looking to grow. What advice could you give them? Maybe a lesson you learned, or a stumbling block that you had overcome that would be valuable for their maturation in the industry.
Sure. If I can think back to when we were first starting out, and all the things that I was doing, and the day-to-day tasks, and just being overwhelmed and working a ton of hours on getting the job done, which you have to do. But where I found where we really started to take off and really started to grow is when we started hiring the right people, and having the trust in someone that we hired to be able to take on those different tasks. So something that I did early on, when I felt so overwhelmed and how can we grow, was I would take my schedule and I would write out every 15 minutes what I did that day, and really gave me a good idea of what are the things that I'm working on to improve the business, to drive the business, and then what are also the things that are taking up a lot of my time that I should be having someone else do to help us to grow the organization. So I think that's something everyone in the construction industry during the middle of the season feels like they are so busy, but really putting it down on a 15-minute increment throughout the day and figuring out, what are you really busy doing? Is it things that you could have someone helping you so that you can work on the things that are going to be important to growing the business?
That's great advice. Really appreciate it, Ross. Thanks for joining us. I don't want to hold you up too much. I know there's a beautiful lake calling your name, but really appreciate you joining us and offering this advice for everybody.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it too.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, that'll do it for today's show. I truly hope you enjoyed this episode of Leaps and Bounds. If you did, be sure to leave us a 5-star rating and review, and subscribe to the podcast. We look forward to bringing you more exclusive conversations with some of the most successful home improvement leaders. If you're interested in learning more about Leap, be sure to check us out at leaptodigital.com or follow one of our social channels. Until next time, see you.